What happened to Smokie? Originally formed in England in 1966, Smokie hit the British pop chart several times during the late 70s with updated psychedelic pop, influenced by the band's stay on Mickey Most Rack Records, as well as the writers of most of the band's hit material, Rack's Nicky Chin and Mike Chapman. Vocalist Chris Norman, bassist Terry Utley, guitarist Alan Silson, and drummer Ron Kelly had played in the Elizabethans but formed the band Kindness in 1970. On December 9th, 1968, the group had their first TV appearance on Yorkshire Television's news and magazine show Calendar. The quartet recorded many singles during the late 60s and early 70s but failed to show any chart activity. In January 1970, RCA Records showed an interest in the band and suggested a name change to Kindness. Steve Rowland of Family Dog heard the band playing live on Radio 1 Club and offered to sign them to his production company. He arranged for Albert Hammond, who was also in Family Dog, to write a number for the band entitled It Never Rains in Southern California. However, before it could be released, Hammond decided to record it himself, and it later became a top 10 hit in the US and the UK. Eager introduced them to Decca, which resulted in recordings in February 1972, their first single being Oh Julie on the A-side and I Love You Carolina as the B-side. Shortly thereafter, their next single was released, Let the Good Times Roll, which was liked by the media and was selected as the opening theme for Emperor Roscoe's BBC Radio 1 Saturday show, but this popularity did not translate into record sales. During the band's Decca contract, Eager used his contacts with the Manchester-based agency Kennedy Street Enterprises to gain the band an audition to be Peter Noon's backing band. By 1973, Kelly had left the band and was replaced by Pete Spencer, who had played in various groups, including working with Alan Holdsworth to drum for them. They purchased new instruments and in late 1974 began recording their debut album, Pass It Around, which was released February 14, 1975. The album spawned the title track as a single but failed to gain significant attention. They began their first tour as headline act after the release of their second album on September 22, 1975, Changing All the Time. In 1975, the band signed to Rack Records, billed as Smokie. They hit number 3 in the UK with If You Think You Know How to Love Me. Called Midnight Cafe, it built on the popularity of Changing All the Time. After another top 10 hit, Don't Play Your Rock and Roll to Me, Smokie became Smokie with an IE instead of an EY because of a lawsuit by Smokey Robinson. In 1976, the group scored with 3 top 20 hits in the UK, including the number 5 Living Next Door to Alice. The next 2 albums, 1977's Bright Lights and Back Alleys, and 1978's The Montreux album, cemented their status and were both chart successes. Smokie hit number 5 both in 1977 and 1978. In 1977, it was the song It's Your Life, and it was Oh Carol in 1978. At the peak of Smokie's success in 1978, Chris Norman teamed up with Suzi Quatro and released a duet single, Stumbling In, which ended up being a top 5 hit in the US. Chris Norman and Pete Spencer wrote and produced the British football star Kevin Keegan's first single, Head Over Heels in Love, which went to number 31 in the UK. In 1979, the album The Other Side of the Road was released, entirely recorded in Australia. However, the band's chart run ended in early 1980. Smokie took a hiatus before Solid Ground was released in 1981. And following 1982's Midnight Delight, they disbanded. In 1983, band members Alan Silson, Chris Norman, and Terry Utley collaborated with Agnetha Faltskog of ABBA, singing together on the track Once Burned Twice Shy from her first English-language solo album entitled Wrap Your Arms Around Me. Terry Utley went on to play bass for several other groups, including Peter Golby and John Cullen of Status Quo. Both Spencer and Norman continued to work at Rack during the 1980s, writing hits for several groups, and they reformed Smokie in 1986, resurfacing with the LP My Heart Is True. Norman, by that stage, enthused with the relative success of his second solo album, Some Hearts Are Diamonds, announced that he was going to leave the band. He was replaced by Alan Barton, formerly of Black Lace, who had been suggested by Chris as a good replacement for the band because of his similar vocal style to Norman. 2 more albums, All Fired Up and Greatest Hits Live, followed, with the group remaining active throughout the 1990s, issuing new material, including 1992's Chasing Shadows and 1995's The World and Elsewhere, as well as a number of hits collections. The group returned to the UK singles chart in 1995 after comedian Roy Chubby Brown teamed up with the band for the release of Living Next Door to Alice. With a renewed interest in the band, Smokie continued to deliver albums over the following years: 1996's Light a Candle, 1998's Wild Horses, the Nashville album, 2000's Uncovered, and 2004's On the Wire, as well as playing crowds throughout the UK and Europe. Smokie issued their 21st album, Take a Minute, in 2010. Over the next decade, they released a handful of tracks while continuing to tour Europe. On April 16, 2021, it was announced that Mike Kraft had decided to retire after 26 years of service to the band. He was replaced by Pete Lincoln, former member of Andy Scott's Sweet. Unfortunately, Terry Utley died on December 16, 2021 at the age of 70. At the time of his death, he was the last remaining original member who was still active within the band. As of the recording of this video in the summer of 2024, Chris Norman is still alive and well, and he is 73 years old. And that's what happened to Smokie. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Give me some facts about Smokie that I failed to mention in this video, and let me know who I should do next on this channel. Should I do more British acts, more acts from England? Should I do more non-American acts? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.